Hello, everyone. So yes, AI is the buzzword, and it gets a little repetitive. But then the fact is, whenever we are talking about AI, everybody is just talking about one thing, and that is job loss. But for a change, we are going to move away from job losses, and we're going to be talking about how an organization really gets AI ready. Now, audience, we have three people here. One who's actually, building AI systems. The second one who's involved in the HR aspect and the financing and the impact of it on bottom line. And the third is who's actually integrating his own platform, his own company with AI. So I am going to start with Deepak. Deepak, as someone who's heading the technology as the CTO at AMPL, I want to ask you, how is it that you're getting AI ready, really?
Thanks, Pranav. So thanks, everyone. And yeah, gladly we have passed the age when we have to start with defining what AI is. Now we are talking about the complexities of how adopting and making an AI work in an enterprise work. So the hardest thing when it's about the incorporating the AI, no longer it's about the GPUs availability, the infrastructures, the tool availables, and the financing aspect, because most of the organization are expecting or putting up all the resources required to become AI enabled. But one thing is which is very in the large enterprise especially is the fact that the enterprise is really ready in order to take that transformation, because introducing AI and transforming using AI, it's a different concept altogether, because then the boundaries are not defined. It is not limited to the use cases. It is the overall transformation that is needed at the core of the process level, and which makes it very different from the application of the use case at a POC level or at a pilot level, because there is the cross-functional teams, cross-functional departments which are required to be incorporated. When you are doing in a pilot, you do it a very use case specific, very a constrained environment. And when you try to roll up at a process level, you see your data are fragmented, your governance are missing, the accountabilities are lacking, the people have their own speed to adapt to the technology, right? And one of the biggest aspect and the difficulty around is, are you trying to replicate the same process with the AI, which existed from the last X year in your organization, or are you ready to relook at those processes, how they should work in the real world with the use case of the AI? For example, when you are changing the process transformation, because it's easier now said and done, you discuss with the business department, like this process will work in an AI.
Correct.
Then is there someone who is taking the accountability to onboard the auditing team, who is auditing the rest of the thing, that their life would also change?
Correct.
Is business is ready to take the accountability for the AI failure, which used to be the people failure?
Okay.
Right? Or they still feel the AI failure to be a technology failure?
Okay.
Because AI is something which will not 100% foolproof. It has an error rate, it has a success rate, and it has a scenario where you need to build the fallback, you need to build the governance. You have to be ready for those scenarios. And on those scenarios, are you having a right governance? Are you having the right platforms in order to absorb the accountabilities?
Okay.
Create the fallback scenario so that you can recover from those situations, and have a platform which you can scale up to the enterprise level, not just to the specific use case level. And these were the specific, hard truths or the hard things that we learned about when we were making the enterprise ready for the AI.
Okay.
And then you have to look through the whole ecosystem and be ready to get lot of insights around how broken your system is, right? Because a lot of things were happening in silos, were happening in manually,
But now they need to be integrated.
Yeah, they need to be integrated, and there were a lot of discrepancies on those systems.
Okay.
And AI is now reflecting or showing those discrepancies.
Right.
And it's not very easy for the people to accept that we were living with the discrepancies under them, right?
Okay. Okay.
And then there's a prospect that maybe the system is not right, the new system is not working the well.
So redefining everything.
Exactly,
Okay.
right? So
but then this is where I in fact want to get Neeraj in picture. Neeraj in fact was responsible for setting up WNS. He scaled it from to 22,000 people as a BPO at an operational level. Once upon a time, it touched about 65,000. So someone who has seen an enterprise working on people level to now seeing somebody who's AI playing that role. Neeraj, I want to ask you, how does the revenue logic for any entrepreneur or a business change with the integration of AI?
So I think it's been a bit of a discovery process for my company. We're about 2.5 years old, and Deepak very eloquently described our first 2 years. Everything that he's talked about is stuff we've gone through. We did about 60 odd POCs, only about a handful of them scaled. And we weren't bad at what we did. Sometimes we were, but not all the time. And the problems of, I very ineloquently describe that as the disco issue, which is there's either a data problem or somebody puts an infrastructure integration issue in front of you, or it's a security issue. Some CISO comes and says it can't be done. Then there's a compliance and accuracy issue, and then there's an organizational acceptance issue. So all of the above, we've encountered at different points of time, sometimes all together. So it was a bit of a challenge.
So it's a disco dance in a different sense.
Yeah. My team, by the way, hates me using this. So, but anyway. But I think that the real, building from what I think Deepak said is that when we look at both scaling as well as pricing, let me come to the scaling aspect of it. I think a very important point that he made also was that are you replicating and automating what was already there? Or are you recreating something in the right way it needs to be done with the fact that you have an AI capability already being there? So I think the more we started to go towards the second saying, look, at the risk of cannibalizing your operation or building something new altogether, having a different group that does things differently, that seemed to work really well for us. In many cases, we created something new. And the second thing was more around finding the ways to combine. It's not a very popular thing from Silicon Valley's perspective, but actually it is getting that way. We stopped thinking about autonomy and 100% automation for most things. We said there is a role for human to play on multiple fronts. For example, there's no insurance today for E&O insurance for errors made by AI.
That's an important
So people ignore that. When you get down to a large contractual discussion, your board will ask you, well, where is your insurance if you make errors? And many of these contracts in human form today come with 0 errors as a basic requirement. So as we described that, in every case we had to put in a human layer and to say, well, how does the whole process work between AI and human beings? And so design of that interplay was very important. And we actually reversed the whole logic to say we're not going to talk about human in the loop, we're going to talk about AI in the loop. Because it was the human's intent and responsibility and accountability that delivered something. And we put AI around that to make sure that happened. It doesn't mean it was only assisting humans. AI would do the work as well, but it was built around human objectives. Coming to the pricing part, I think after a lot of deliberation and experimentation with that, the conclusion we've come to is that it's very close to how data analytics gets done. Or historically, I've been involved in a bunch of analytics companies, or the way Palantir does it, as well as that there is a setup phase for which you charge, where you build the environment for AI to flourish and function. And then after that, we typically charge on a per outcome or a per output basis. And that's different from the FTE-based model, because I think the FTE-based model is not aligned with AI-based productivity. So therefore, we almost never do the FTE-based model.
Now, Abhinav, as someone who has been involved in building systems, what are some of the... Abhinav, in fact, is the founder of Fluid AI. He and Raghav Agarwal both founded Fluid AI, which is one of India's most pioneering AI platforms. They're into agentic AI building. So as somebody who's building AI for a corporation, keeping the money aspect in mind, what are the challenges for you? One, purely from an operational point of view, integrating it with the existing systems. And secondly, the price pressures that may exist purely from a revenue point of view of the client.
Yeah, no, I think generally deploying AI within enterprises has quite a few challenges, right? And I'll touch on the top 2-3 that we're seeing. Number one is we end up largely working with large enterprises, right? And by very definition of a large enterprise means it's successful, right? So it's almost like going to Michael Phelps and saying, I'm going to, don't swim like this. You need to do this a little better in your backstroke. And he's like, oh my God, I won 26 Olympic medals.
Swimming the same way, yeah.
Do I need to change the way I operate, right? So that's the first fundamental challenge that you face when you're getting into a large organization to deploy this. The second biggest challenge is that their bar, and Neeraj touched upon this, right? Their bar for what they expect AI to do is far higher, right? So if I'm running a bank and I'm running a call center, my call center team is making mistakes, right? They might answer the question right 85% of the time. But when I'm deploying AI, my requirement is that the AI answers correctly 99% of the time.
In bank?
Right.
Because the scope for error is less.
Yeah, I think that just the perception that, okay, if the AI makes a mistake, that's unacceptable.
Okay.
If my call center employee makes a mistake, that's okay. He or she is being human. And that philosophically is a very big challenge that holds back a lot of implementations, right? Even if the tech is better. And I think third is largely, and Pranav, you were mentioning this, is getting the platform in. One is to connect to all your data sources, right? But then changing the way people work.
Okay.
And it's fair, right? Like if someone came to me and I've been in AI for 15 years now, right? So far before the wave hit. Someone comes to me today and says, okay, Abhinav, you've been in this space 15 years, forget everything you know about this and now do work this completely different way.
Okay.
There will be resistance.
Right.
Right? And that's the biggest challenge these enterprises face, right? People who worked 15 years in sales, if you're going to go and deploy, saying, now I'm going to deploy a cloud-based GTM engineer in your team and it's going to do sales, B2B sales very differently and very automatedly. Okay. And your team's role has now changed from targeting like 10,000 customers to targeting 100,000 customers or 1 million customers, but now you are targeting which industries to hit, what to do. That transformation, bringing it in people is very, very challenging.
Okay.
So these 4 layers make it very challenging for big, large organizations at the board level, at the tactical operational level, and at the team level to just make it all work and succeed.
But then if we really talk about, because, resistance, this whole expectation versus reality fact. Deepak, I want to ask you, is there, while convincing your own organization to now start adopting AI, who's the hardest person really to convince? Is it the HR? Is it the mid-level employee? Is it the entry-level employee or the top tier? Who's the most difficult to convince and make changes?
Yeah, I think because we feel the AI is impacting the people on the ground most, so they would be the more resistance, but actually it's the middle management which is the most, because of the people on the ground, they're really finding it to be a new tool which increases their productivity, eases up their life and creates a lot of value in their whole day-to-day work, right? In the middle management terms, it's an indirect impact, though they will still have the use cases which directly impacts them, but their team, how do they control or how do they get to know about how much facilitation is happening because of the AI and how they channelize that improvement and also the incorrectness that the AI generated, which Abhinav was talking about, right? Because when he said that the humans can go wrong, it is acceptable because how we have evolved our systems, in a form of how do we audit humans? How do we find out whether they are, when they are wrong and what to do when they are wrong? How to hold them accountable and put the tag on it, it's an human error, right? That is one of the RCAs which exists as anything. But in case of the AI failing, do we really get to know it has failed, right? That is the biggest question. We know that, okay, it's gonna be succeeding 85%, 89%, 95%, but do I get to know about rest of the 5%? Because the definition of AI failing and not failing to be honest, it has not gone into the auditory and the observability node.
Why is it? Because it rests with another agency?
No, it's not, because AI will answer the question with so confidence, you don't know whether that answer has wrong answer or whether it's a right answer, because there is no mechanism to know it. When human fails, either he will say something wrong, which you have an auditory system which will figure it out whether you have said something wrong. When AI is saying, it's answering, right? How you define failure? Because it has answered.
Yeah.
Whether that answer is true or not, you cannot put so much of another layer because of the ecosystem to know whether AI was right or not. And does that kind of an layer exist? That kind of a governance, that kind of an auditory exist? That's the biggest question about being acceptable to the AI being failure or not being failed.
Now that I would want to throw that to Abhinav. In fact, does it really exist? Is there really a possibility that that could be monitored in whatever way he's saying?
Yeah,
the accountability question.
I think the tech is getting there in terms of how do you monitor. I think there's so much effort that everyone puts, right, in putting the right best AI system in. And I think Deepak made a great point that the very little effort is being put on actually monitoring and ensuring these systems are delivering what they're supposed to, right?
Okay.
Are they drifting off in journey, answering overconfidently, but maybe inherently wrong, right?
Okay.
Because we've moved away from a world where everything could be tested with simple programmatic S's and No's, right? In the previous era, it was a deterministic world. Programming and software was deterministic, right? Either it worked or it didn't work.
0 or 1.
Yeah. Now you moved into a probabilistic world.
Correct.
And no quality assurance team, no organizational system, no software system has evolved well for working in a or at least maintaining or monitoring a probabilistic world.
Okay.
And that's what makes the challenge or the problem even harder.
Okay. Talking about challenges, Neeraj, in fact, I want to ask you if everybody is like, as Mr. Vembu said, that we are in a FOMO zone where everybody is just adopting AI for the sake that somebody else is doing it. I also need to do something about it, and that's how they're integrating their systems with AI. I want to ask you, what's the single most expensive mistake, as somebody who looks at it from a financial investing point of view? What's the single most expensive mistake that Indian companies are doing while integrating or adapting AI? Is there something that is going to cost them big?
So I think we have almost no Indian clients, so I can't speak for Indian companies.
Okay.
But in general, I look at it the other way around, and some experiences are different from.
Let's make it global. Is there one mistake that companies?
I think there are enough publicized examples at Deloitte in Australia or Air Canada where the AI delivered a massive error which led to a financial issue, and we're going to see more of that if you don't take care there. But I think the issue of governance and managing errors is bread and butter stuff for a company like ours. We can't function without having an answer to that. And I think there are two things we do. One is there's a huge amount of work we've done on verification, validation tools that we are using before any response gets communicated using AI itself. And it has enormously improved from the first answer to where we get to. In addition to that, I think there's almost nothing we do without, at the minimum, a human sample checking. Maybe even more, because the kinds of processes we're running in accounting and customer care and other places, there's absolutely no room for error. So I think from that standpoint, that has been the biggest struggle, is so how do you establish a system where errors are minimized? And that was the single biggest scaling issue we had.
Okay.
Just one addition. I feel the biggest mistake we're seeing in AI today, and it's in India, but it's happening globally as well, is estimation of token cost.
Okay.
Right? And you see it happening globally at massive scale. Right? So Microsoft just recently rolled out Claude to all their employees.
Right.
And then came back and said, okay, we're going to roll it back because it's costing too much.
Okay.
Now, someone who's running a cloud and is one of the forefront leaders in technology is misestimating how much the AI will cost them.
Really.
I got to add to that.
Yeah?
I got to add to that.
And just one point, but Uber did the same mistake, right? They
Yeah,
gave it to all their tech employees, right?
And exhausted their budget.
First month, great. Second month, 75% usage. Third month, 96% usage. Fourth month, shut it down. It's just too expensive, right?
Yeah.
So everyone's misestimating budgeting massively.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, my sense right now is that he's bang on. Every global company, big or small, is going through the issue of what do we do with cloud?
Okay.
It's so good that you're using it so much, but the cost is increasing. You had no budget for it.
Right.
So this morning, few members of my team and I actually had a conversation with Claude, saying this is our problem with you. Can you help us address it?
Okay.
And we got some interesting answers. That's another story. But this is such a big topic right now that we're seeing budgets completely explode, defeating the purpose of saying you can actually save costs.
Okay. I mean, Deepak, now talking about their actual integration, do you think quite like humans, there's probably a midlife crisis like a situation sometimes in many people's lives. Do AI agents also plateau at some point in time? Like, this is where they perform. This is the optimum performance level. And beyond this, currently, we need to deploy human capital or human...
Absolutely, because as we are saying, the intelligence is the part, right? And intelligence, whether it's in human or in machine, comes from the various aspect, which is the information, like the data. The amount of data that we have in a mind, that decides how fast we would be able to process and how better we would be able to process, whether it's human or machines. And the same is going at an enterprise level. Your data increases, data keeps on increasing, and that's because you want to scale your business, you want to increase your customer base, you want to increase more business lines, revenue lines, everything. You want to increase, you want to grow. The growth is directly proportional to the more and more data. That means the more and more knowledge that a system needs to be aware of, needs to be connected through, and needs to process in the real time. So that whole data defines the shape of the next technology advances. If you look at the recently in the, Abhinav and Neeraj would agree, the next one is the energy, but the second next thing, which beyond even the GPUs, TPUs, is about memory. So that's the next.
Agree.
We are saying that the gold or the oil or would be the memory, how we scale up the memory, how fast we process the memory, and how we were into the era we thought the RAG is like a wow, wonderful thing. And now we are seeing with the more data, the problem with the challenges with the RAG, which is a secondary brain to an AI system, which is a real-time brain to a system. We are moving towards a wiki. We are deploying wiki in order to provide the more brain to it. So the more data, more information needs to be processed and kept in memory to answer it better and real-time. It is where I think the next advancement in the technologies.
Neeraj, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I think if you start reading the narrative that's coming out of Silicon Valley the last week or two, many people are claiming that we're already past AGI. Okay. And which in essentially layman's term means that AI is already more intelligent than humans. So, but the caveat to that is that, look, there are other aspects to what happens in any business situation, or for that matter, any personal situation as well. There's a notion of intent. What are you intending to do? That also lies within the human mind into the second point, which is what is the context within which you want to do it. That's again something that humans own. And I think the final point is that the responsibility of integrity of what you do is still resting with the humans. So I think from that standpoint, I think what you got to understand is the intelligence of the tool has got far more powerful and keep on growing. It is smarter than us. I mean, look, I consulted in McKinsey. I can already say that the AI is far better than or the work that can be done in consulting is far better than what I did as a second-year associate. Much, much better. And I wasn't bad. So from that standpoint, I think it's already ahead. But is it ahead in thinking about intent? Is it ahead in thinking about context on what exactly to do? Or for that matter...
Biases? I mean, as...
So I think there's still our role changes from someone who's doing the grunt work to someone thinking not just about how do we automate the past context, about how do we create a new context altogether. And we compete on the basis of that.
Abhinav, in fact, I want to ask you because, talking about intent, talking about data, one of the most important points of discussion always is sovereignty. Looking at yourself where you are and looking at the global AI models, what's the gap who's where? Do you have a long way to go? What is it that is happening right now to bridge that gap? Because enterprises like Deepak may want Indian AI, may want sovereign AI, but do we have the capability? Do we have the domestic systems that are able to cater to that? What's the gap?
Yeah, no, I think great question. And just to add a little to the previous question, I think where humans are better right now than AI is we are good at deciding what to optimize for. Right. Whether you optimize for the short term, whether to optimize for user satisfaction, whether to optimize for anything. So that's what I feel that humans still play the role for the AI. But coming to your question, I think there are 3 layers to the stack, right? So there's the hardware layer, which is your GPU chips, your LPU chips. There, India is kind of absent from the story, right?
We've missed the bus.
We've missed the bus. We'll catch up. The bus it's a bus that takes 10 to 20 years to build. So we have started that process now, thankfully, but it will take 10, 15, 20 years for it to play out. Maybe there's a tech change that comes so that, the bus hits us faster.
Suddenly,
yeah. So the approach changes completely, and so all that past legacy kind of gets wiped out, if we're lucky. So hardware, obviously the US with AMD, NVIDIA own the market. China's kind of up and coming with what they're attempting with Huawei and the chip side. Then there's the frontier model side, the model side, right? Model side, again, is largely been a more US-centric play, right? With OpenAI, Anthropic, Grok, or Meta, all the best models come out from there. China, I feel personally, has gotten a lot of publicity around having great models. But in essence, what I've seen is they're building feeder models, right? These are just distilled versions of OpenAI and Anthropic's models. They don't follow any privacy, no regulation, no legal ramifications, so they do it blatantly. In India, we follow a more sane approach to international law, so we don't just steal a model and then claim it's ours.
Okay.
So I feel China's ecosystem looks more evolved when it comes to models, but it's a lot of artificial stuff going on over there.
Okay.
Just copy models being created. The third layer, which is where India is playing in, is the agent layer, like the agent harness, like making these models work together for use cases.
Correct.
That's highly democratized across India, US, China, Israel. And I feel there India is playing a great role. That's where a lot of our innovation is coming, where a lot of the services move, right? Deploying these agents in enterprises, using these solutions together. So I feel that's where India is playing at. The layer below that is getting very commoditized. So I feel it's a good layer to play at this moment, and time will tell who can win that layer. But India has a great shot over there, and we are doing a great set of work. Both startups, larger corporations, everyone's doing a great set of work over there right now.
Okay. Deepak, as someone who's integrating AI now, do you think AI is here to stay within the system? Because as we just discussed, Microsoft learned its lesson that prices are going high. Uber learned its lesson that the costs are increasing. It's not really sustainable. Do you think you'll reach a point of regret probably that, most 2/3 of Indian enterprises are deploying about 10% of their capital to AI integration. Will it happen that you'll fire people for AI integration and then, just to realize 2 years later, I shouldn't have fired them, it's not working? Is that going to happen?
I think organizations which are firing people for AI definitely will gonna regret, because we are at a stage, and I don't think so we're gonna be at a stage of replacing human. We are at a stage of augmenting humans, right? It is not about replacing humans with fully autonomous systems running. As we said, the AI has an error rate and everything. It is more of, if you look at any evolution of the technology, when machine came, when the vehicles came, and then the computer came, everyone is towards the increasing the productivity of the humans and increasing the ease of the way they are doing the work.
But as Mr. Wembu in fact rightly said, that they are firing people because the only thing that they can control is the salaries.
Yeah, that's right. Because if you look at the revenue model, or if the return on revenues, or any model that you follow towards, it's either you are saying that per employee how much I am earning, like per employee. With the case of the AI, there is no defined metrics in those terms. How do I calculate my return on investment? What is the direct correlation of that 10% to my revenue, whether it's a bottom line, top line, any line that we are talking about, how it is contributing towards that. So that's where the people are getting confused that, okay, my cost is X, that X is the human plus various other things.
Right.
If I'm introducing the another lens of the AI,
Let me
out of
reduce
that
this.
X, let me reduce, because that's what the AI is telling. I'm increasing the productivity, I'm replacing the humans. But it is because AI also has a maturity, AI also has a right way of doing it. When the Uber introduced it to all the developers, does they introduce it to the level that, okay, you will get 50% more productive, you start thinking more in those 50%, or you say that, okay, no, 100% you are getting replaced with those tokens, and then you are land up in a situation, I don't have tokens, I don't have developers.
Okay.
Right. So it is to create that question where the people can start thinking more. It is for the question to where the people can start devoting their time in order to understand how best and better they can do whatever they're doing, and optimizing and making their work better with utilizing the AI tools.
Okay. Neeraj, I mean, I'm just summing this up with one final question, which is on where we actually began, that Indian enterprises becoming AI ready. With all this noise going on right now, with all these trial and error going on right now, what is that one thing that you would advise to any Indian enterprise which is looking at a lot of chaos around, looking at AI systems getting integrated, and wants to plan for future? What is that one thing that they need to keep in mind? To both of you, in fact, to you as well as to Abhinav.
I think goes without saying, firstly, build great talent and, accept failure at least once in a while, because this is a journey where we're all learning. It is dramatically different from things that we've encountered before.
Okay.
It touches every aspect of how we worked. And so therefore, part of the journey will be that you'll take 10 steps. You will probably have to take 5 steps back, because you realize that there are other things you hadn't thought of. But anybody who's saying that, look, I'm going to fire people because some things didn't get done, if the talent was right, the inputs were right, then the issue is less about firing them, but more about figuring out, well, what went wrong and what can we learn from it and how can we improve it. So I think, to me, it's a matter of getting great talent and backing them.
Okay.
Because extraordinary things are possible and will happen. I mean, if trillions of dollars are being invested by some very smart people, there's obviously some potential here.
Right. Abhinav?
I would say that you need to focus on the outcome, and the journey will kind of build itself, right? So if I'm running an, hyper local delivery platform, right, and my goal is that I want to deliver within 3 minutes and at a cost that's below 10 rupees, right, to all of India, then, I mean, what's the fastest way to achieve that, right? And today it could be that fire everyone and only have 100% AIs do it, or it could be the exact opposite, right? Don't use any AI in this entire process and completely, have a human-driven process around it.
Okay.
So I would say that it's more about what is that goal. Have a very sharp laser focus on the goal you're looking at achieving.
Okay.
And then see the tooling around, which is the humans, the AI, their intersection of working together to deliver that value. Don't get so much caught up. I think too many people get caught up in, should I put AI in this process? Should I put people here? Should I do this? Should I do that? They kind of lose sight of the end outcome of the goal that they're pushing for.
Because there will be financial repercussions of these trials and errors, right?
Exactly. Financial repercussions, experience repercussions, quality repercussions at all levels, right?
And reputation, at times reputation as
reputational risk.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of disgruntled and misinformation when it's provided. The customers
Where there's no accountability.
So a firm that's 700 people and running insurance operations is justified. A firm that's 3 people and running similar insurance operations but driven all by AI, agents is justified. True. It's dependent on what outcome they're trying to give to their customers.
Right. Perfect. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Time's already up. Thank you very much for your insightful thoughts. We will keep coming back to you as we all progress and adopt AI in our collective journeys together. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.